Hi, this is Michelle Leahy with Larry Burns. Larry is the author of Secret Inland Empire, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. In Larry's hometown of Riverside, California, he's an active community leader and all-around fan of the recreation, entertainment, arts, and culture ready to be discovered across the Inland Empire. Thank you so much for joining me, Larry.
Thanks, Michelle. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, this is exciting. Your book is super interesting to me. Tell me about what were some of the weirdest places or weirdest things that you discovered along your research for this book?
There was quite a few surprisingly enjoyably weird things about the Inland Empire that I discovered and learned more about. One of the stories that really captures a lot of the values and other related stories across the Inland Empire is a place in Joshua Tree National Park called Samuelson Rock. And so the unique thing about Samuelson is it's kind of a place where you can really see a bit of history. So when I visit this type of place and I look at what's there, it reminds me of Twitter.
Yeah.
And the reason why it reminds me of Twitter is because this is a place at Samuelson Rock is where Samuelson carved a number of political and religious and anti-government messages into these giant polished boulders. They're beautiful, but they're placed around his old homestead that he set up there about 100 years ago. And so the only way to see these original tweets is to go out and take a 5-mile hike into Joshua Tree National Park. So it's a really unique place. It really connects to a lot of the things we see today, you know, in terms of anger about the government or anger about, you know, who controls resources. And so it was interesting to see that sentiment expressed 100 years previously out in the deserts of the Inland Empire on these giant boulders. Yeah. And because they were carved into these boulders, they are well preserved. And we have places like the Mojave Desert Land Trust out here who preserves those spaces in perpetuity and takes care of them, manages those spaces so that hikers and people who visit the area can go and enjoy those things for years to come. So that place was a really fun, weird experience. And not only was he an interesting character once he was here, the people that he met in Joshua Tree were also fascinating. So that part of the Inland Empire is where a lot of Hollywood stars would go to recreate and hang out. And one of the people that he befriended was Earl Stanley Gardner, who was the creator of the Perry Mason series. And so as a natural storyteller, he was intrigued with Samuelson. And so he spent many days with him learning his stories and actually paying him for some of these stories. One of the weirdest tales that he told was his journey over here as an immigrant from Sweden was he got captured off the coast of Ghana and was imprisoned by a powerful princess. And there was a giant vein of gold there that was guarded by these giant ants. And they were going to make him his king, but he managed to escape to the United States.
Interesting.
Yes, at the very least, that's one of the more unusual immigrant tales that I read about in this research.
Yeah. So ultimately, what do you hope your book tells readers about the Inland Empire?
I really hope that you come away from reading sections of this book understanding that this is a place that will always survive and thrive. It'll always find a way to express itself and to make its presence known throughout the region and throughout the world. You know, there's been cultures here for thousands of years, and even in the recent history in the last 50 years, this region has really created a number of innovations and practices that have become standards throughout the world. We've got some of the earliest places for fast food and for GIS technology and for animatronics. A lot of those things were actually invented and developed in the Inland Empire and are still continued to be created out in this area today. So I think that's one of the things I want people to realize is just how much great innovation and new stuff and cool things come out of the Inland Empire. And I think you're going to continue to see that drive an innovative spirit for decades to come.
Interesting. So who would you say your book's targeted audience is? The people?
I would say the people who would enjoy this book the most are the regional residents of the Inland Empire. So this is a community that is comprised of 2 counties and about 4 million people. And it's approximately 300 distinct communities. And so I would say any member of those communities can pick up this book and learn over the course of a couple of hours a little bit more about a couple dozen other communities, because that's what I really tried to do, is show you the diverse types of experiences that you could have around the Inland Empire.
Very cool. And so where could people go to pick up a copy of your book or to connect with you?
I would say you could find me on larryburns.net. I've got updates on my schedule where I'll be doing events. We're not doing events currently, but we've got some hope scheduled that some events coming in July will be on track out in San Bernardino. You can find my book online at barnesandnoble.com, also Amazon. And you can also search for your local indie bookseller who can carry that and sell that to you as well. It's a good way to support your local community right now. And then, lost my train of thought there.
That's all right. And probably reedypress.com.
Yes, and also at reedypress.com is another place you can find my book and books like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your book today. I'm super excited to read about some of the weird, wonderful, and obscured things to do in Secret Inland Empire.
Yes, thank you. There's a lot to be discovered. I hope people find a few that they enjoy.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Larry.